Welcome to Signature Required. It is intended for Tennesseans by Tennesseans. The heart of a Tennessean, the volunteer state, is serve, and we do so largely without self-promotion.
And these are genuine people that get up every day and want to make art, or want to educate the nations, or want to have a heart of love in a way that makes a difference.
Learn from 50 years of experience, take a nugget away, and then go share it with a friend. Danny Herron, CEO of Habitat for Humanity for Greater Nashville. Welcome to Signature Required.
Glad to be here and glad to be with you.
So for those that are just listening, that aren't watching right now, where are we seated right now? We're not in our studio.
No, you're in one of our 3 Restore locations in Wilson County at the old Lebanon Outlet Mall. And that has been repurposed. A lot of people are familiar with other malls that are being repurposed where they put residential, things like that. So this was an old outlet mall where they had Polo, Reebok, all that. We bought the Reebok building, and we have 35,000 square feet now of retail space that we've repurposed for the use of, selling home goods that have been donated to our Habitat for Humanity, and it was totally renovated a year and a half ago. So we opened for business in July of last year.
I feel like a lot of people have an understanding, or at least thought they had an understanding of what Habitat for Humanity does and is, but a retail location maybe wouldn't have come to the list. Like, I think a lot of people would have said, well, I think they go and help build houses and are a great volunteer opportunity. So help us understand just a little bit of the scope of what Restore and the retail side of Habitat for Humanity is all about.
Well, and we didn't start it, but Habitat across the world is really the second most recognized nonprofit brand in the world next to Red Cross. Habitat's everywhere. And so I think several years ago, they realized that we needed to have a social enterprise to, more and more donors say, look, we're glad to give, but is there any way you can make some money for yourself? And so we kind of said, hey, we're in the home building business and home goods business. Why don't we start having where people can donate what their unused products are, and for people that are doing renovations can come look for. So we started opening these restores across the country, and it generates a amount of earned income versus just contributed. Contributed income is when we come and ask you for donations. And the fact that we can now show that we're just our affiliate, which is the Greater Nashville, can generate almost $1 million a year of net revenue for our ministry to further the work we do. By doing this, I think it's a win-win situation.
Help me understand where all your product comes from. Off camera, I can see there's a bunch of different fake flowers that are beautiful. And so I imagine those didn't all come from someone's house unless they had a fake greenhouse in their backyard. So
Right.
Where is all your product coming from?
Well, we do have it, and we run large box trucks doing pickups for people who are donating, things that they contact us, schedule a pickup. We also have it where we also do a deconstruct where if you're renovating your kitchen and you're tearing out cabinets, we'll have somebody come in and tear out cabinets and repurpose those, so avoid it going to the landfill. But generally, we get donations from individuals, but also from large companies who are so kind to say, hey, off season, we're done, and we have all this inventory left. And instead of, we would just soon give it to Habitat as a donation, which we can then sell it at a great discount to the, because we're being given the product. So we have corporations that give us from inventories and warehouses, or what they have is left over at the end of the season, and then we can discount it and sell it like that. And we do have some purchase products where we'll buy some product directly from a manufacturer, get a discount on it, and then sell it. But that's less than about 10%, about around 10% of our product. So 90% of it is donated either through corporate or individuals that live in the local area.
So something I didn't know about Habitat is that if somebody, like a regular person, is moving and they have cabinets or furniture, or even I think I saw carpeting and flooring, you guys can use that? You'll come haul it away for me? Is that what I'm hearing?
We love to work with realtors and with people that are moving because yes, absolutely, we can repurpose those items. We will come out, schedule a time to look at it, make sure it's something we can use. But absolutely, what we have, over 90% of everything in this store has been donated to us. And I would say, that we do make about a 20% margin here because, if we gross out in our 3 stores about $5 million a year at our restores, and we make about a net $1 million a year that helps go right back to the ministry. And I always say, even as an Alabama graduate, if you don't pay anything for your cost of goods, you got a better chance of making money. So we do have a good margin. So it does help that we get those donations. It is so critical we get donations because also inventory goes out the door every day. And we have to replace it every day. And we don't have a company we can just call and say, well, we need more. We need you to donate. So we're always running trucks. We're always needing that. So people think, well, I don't want to bother you. I've got some furniture and all that. Would you mind, me scheduling to get picked up? We would love that. That's what we sell. And the fact that we don't pay anything for it allows us to then have enough revenue to then turn around and, funds our ministry.
Is it still treated the same way from a tax perspective too, that as a business or an individual that you get a write-off? How does that function?
You do get a write-off. And again, if you've got something of real expensive value, we don't establish the value for you. You have to do your own valuation. But absolutely, we'll send you a letter, for showing appreciation of your donation. So you may.
I have one more question. I want to know, how do you establish what to price things at? Because you said that there's you're getting all kinds of stuff from bull's heads to pergolas to you name it. How do you know where to even begin pricing things?
Well, fortunately, we have like a gentleman in our store who's worked with us 18 years. Okay. So he has a good feel for it. And he has a notebook kind of basically these things, this lamp, blah, blah, blah. There are all kinds of softwares you can look things up now about, my wife does that too when she's out doing estate sales shopping, but she can look up what the value should be. So we try to price it. Here's the great part. When somebody comes and says, I think you've overpriced it, we say, well, great. Come back in 2 weeks and it'll drop 25%. And they go, it might not be here. I said, then we probably didn't overprice it, did we? So it's a great thing. It will, if we did overprice it, it will come down. If we underprice it, it's probably going to be gone that day. So it is one where it takes care of itself. Again, if it sits on the floor for 2 weeks, that's okay. It will come down and it will price it. At some point, it'll keep dropping until it sells. Mm-hmm. So it's not an exact science.
Okay, I have to ask, have you gotten anything crazy donated? I would imagine when you're working with the general public, people have all kinds of things that they are ready to part with. I bet you've seen some stuff.
Oh, amazing things. I go into our store every day because I can't wait to see what's there. One time we had Longhorn Steakhouse was renovating. So we got a large cow, steer head, and buffalo head. Well, how do you price that?
You bought that, right? It's over the glass door.
How do you price it? We didn't even know how to price it. But we're saying, okay, this one's $2,500, and this one we did for $1,900. It wasn't quite as big, and they both sold.
Wow.
We had no idea, but it beat somebody. How else would you have found that? So it was great. Things like that. We recently had somebody that was in Williamson County that had moved here from California, but had beautiful stuff. It was a multi-million-dollar house, and they donated stuff they brought in that they just decided it didn't fit in the house. And one of them we found was a oil painting. It was a huge oil painting that had been bought in auction in Paris for $35,000. Had been reframed. We sold it for $2,500. It was, but they were thrilled. We were thrilled. $2,500 a lot, but it was an opportunity to buy a beautiful oil painting from Paris. And we listed it for $7,500. And what happens in our store is after 2 weeks, it goes down 25%. And so in the 4th week, it had gone down to $2,500 and sold. So there's always something unique there. You never know, but it's fun to come see what all we have. And it changes. Like I said, our goal is to not have stuff sitting on the store floor forever. Every 2 weeks, it goes down 25%, most of the items we have. So we want to price it where it moves because people come back because they want to see something different every time they come in.
So is it like Black Friday? Every time those prices drop, do you have people fighting over merchandise?
That's so true. At 9 o'clock in the morning when we open and several have been looking at a piece of furniture, they will be at the door at 9 o'clock to be in there and get it. So I wouldn't say we've had fights, but we've had some arguments of who gets it. So it can get a little interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Danny, it's a good opportunity to learn about Habitat for Humanity, but we also want to spend some time learning about you and your journey to be CEO for Greater Nashville. And just to get to know you a little bit, we like to give you a couple questions just to get that started. So we can determine your personality and your character through the following 2 questions, okay? All right. So the first question is, what was your favorite childhood toy? Do you have one?
Well, my mother would have said it was a stick horse. I mean, people don't even know what a stick horse is anymore, but it's, the head of a horse
Yeah.
on a stick. And
The hobby horse thing.
A hobby horse. So I would
Yeah.
ride on it and run all the time. Maybe that's related to, now I walk and play golf a lot. So maybe I was always a walker. So I would really enjoyed that. So.
Excellent answer. And, it could date you or not. We find that sometimes people's answers give a pretty good understanding of
Right.
what era they come from, which is why it's fun.
But we have a horse in our house. Our son has one
Gotta
in his
have that.
room.
It's
Yeah.
a toy that
Usually-
survives.
Well, he kind of like whacks his sisters with the other end, so I don't think he's like getting exercise with it.
Yeah.
But we have one, so there's that.
Well, and
Not too dated.
Okay.
Question number 2,
Okay.
you only get to choose one.
All right.
You're sitting at a table, salsa, guacamole, or queso. What are you going for?
Well,
Oh.
I love guacamole.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that tells on my character, but I'm a guacamole person.
We're going to let the audience decide that,
Okay,
Danny.
all right.
Yeah, but now it's on the record, so
It
that's
is.
good. So walk us through your journey some of what was your background after the hobby horse, but before CEO?
Well, I went to the University of Alabama and came out as a civil engineer, and
Aren't you supposed to say roll tide after you say that?
that is a given, I would hope.
Okay, all right,
that, and I haven't even quoted Nick Saban yet, which will come at some point. But as an Alabama fan, but and became an engineer. Enjoyed that. Worked in the nuclear industry for several years, but I hit that late 20s where I thought I was smarter than I really was, and I thought I got to start my own business. I became a general contractor doing residential and commercial construction, and I did that for about 7 or 8 years, and it was a great opportunity to learn so much. So I have a background which fits in Habitat with home building and, in the engineering part of it. My father was the high school principal at Gallatin High School. So I learned community, I learned education, things like that. And he became, after 30 years of being a principal, somebody said when he retired, we're going to make him a banker. Well, because he knew everybody in the community. I love the story that was told about him that one of his customers said, Mr. Herron, it's not fair. Not only do you know my credit score, you know my IQ. So, but he just, he had 9,000 students while he was there. He grew the bank substantially. That bank ended up buying a bank in Nashville. And I had been doing engineering and real estate, and they said, hey, we'd love to make you a banker because you're relational like your dad. We're not going to let you get into too much trouble, taking too much risk. We're going to keep you on construction loans, things that you understand, and home loans and all that. So I became a banker. And I was president of a community bank for 15 years. It was sold in 2008. And then, after a year kind of working and doing some other things, I had the opportunity to come to Habitat. The great story is that one of my good friends who really referred me to this job, who was on the board at that time at Habitat, said, Danny, you've got real estate in your background and home building. You've got education because your parents were educators. My mother was a teacher. My dad was a principal. You're an elder at your church. So it's a faith-based organization. And other than retail, you've got kind of the whole mix. And with the banking, we do mortgages here. He said, you're really not that bright. You just fit. I said, you're right. And they'd had 150 applicants, and I was chosen because it just all my background, it kind of led to Habitat because it's so multifunctional what Habitat does every day. And really, I had tremendous experience in each one, enough to get by and kind of lead the organization because every day is something different here.
And so talk about the intentionality behind being a faith-based organization, because Carly and I have had a lot of people on the podcast, and it seems like that's a big fork in the road moment, is
Right.
that a lot of nonprofits, you can tell, have a heart that could be linked to faith if
Right.
you dotted the right connections, but many of them refrain from being faith-based. So talk to me about that decision and how you've kind of adapted and adjusted to that in this space where much of your career probably wasn't
Right.
or couldn't be
Right.
faith-based.
Yeah, it was a great move for me to do because one of the things, and I can't memorize anything, but I know our mission statement is putting God's love into action, bringing people together to build homes, community, and hope. I memorize that because I love it. I get up every morning and I enjoy getting to do that. And one is I get to serve God through that. And it is, even though as a Christian and a Christian heritage of this organization, we are thrilled to have all faiths come together and honor their faith and working forward. And I say to everybody, regardless of which faith you might have or no faith, do you want to serve your fellow man? Do you want to take care of your neighbor? Those are things we have in common, and that's what we can all do. And then we can enjoy serving and putting God's love into action. It may be, and can do it consistently, even though they may have different purposes in doing it. The other thing is, in this day of everything being so divided, red, blue, black, white, rich, poor, we come together. We bring people together. I see it every day. I get so excited about doing that. I can't tell you, because I'm on the build site, you're all wearing a light blue t-shirt.
Mhm.
That's all it is. You're wearing a light blue t-shirt. You're serving your fellow man. You're helping build a home for a neighbor, another Nashvilleian who may have come from a different part of the world or a different part of the city, but you just get to know them as a person. And I promise you, I live this out every day now. We've over 5,000 volunteers a year. I've been doing it. I'm in my 16th year. 80% of everything we believe in this community are similar. It's the 20% we hate each other over. And we just focus on the 80% of what we have in common. We want to take care of our children. We want a safe place to live. We want to have people in homes where they know where they're going to be their kids are going to school next year. We want to have a place where we can build value for the future in our community. That's what we all share that. Whether from whatever background you are, religious or political, or socioeconomic, you still have those desires. And we just live that out every day. And I love that. It's just something I've just embraced, enjoyed, and every day I get up excited about getting to do.
Well, I agree with you. Home is a heart language. I don't care what language you speak or where you're from. Everyone knows
Yes.
the power of feeling like you belong at home.
Right.
And I imagine you have hard days as CEO and there's a lot of big decisions you have to make. But I would imagine there's some stories that you've gotten to experience firsthand of people finding their home that make it all worth it. I wonder if any might come to your mind that you might share with
Well, the
us.
first one is I learned when I was going through just Leadership Nashville, but do you realize that 40% of all children who start in the Nashville public school system don't end the school year in the same school they started? Think about that.
Wait, say that one more time.
40% of all children who start in the Nashville public school system don't end the school year in the same school they started in, because they've been displaced, gentrified. They were in a rental house or they were in public housing and they got displaced. They have family situations that displaces them. How we all believe education is one of the greatest paths toward moving forward in life and moving up in life. If you're a student, young student, and a teacher works to get to know every child in a class, but you get displaced in the middle of the school year, you just fall through the cracks, and all of a sudden and all of a sudden you fall 1 year behind in education because you really were moving to multiple schools during the school year. Isn't that sad? So the fact that you and I, a lot of us grew up to where I knew exactly where I was going to school next year and the next year. So many of our families we serve have kids who've never gone against the same school system consistently. It's just every year it's a different school because it's wherever they have lived. They may have to be living with an aunt or uncle for a period of time. They may have lived in public housing, but then Section 8 and that house got torn down and a tall skinny was built on it. All the things that are now causing people to be displaced or they just can't afford it anymore affects the family, and they don't have the place to know that this is where I'm going to be and my dress is the same one it's been, year after year. So we take that for granted so often, and we see people who, when they get to earn their opportunity to purchase a home through Habitat for Humanity, a lot of times through the volunteerism and all that, a mom or a family might not even show the children the house until they get ready to move in. And you see, we have videos of the kids running around saying, "This is my room." And they're screaming and jumping up and down. They've never had a room of their own. I mean, we always kind of meet the families that are being selected to purchase a Habitat home. And, so often I've met some that have 6 children living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and they're not even complaining. That's what they've gotten used to, but they're having 3 to 4 in a 1-bedroom. So to have a house where they can not only have stability, but to have your own room, things like that, it's just wonderful. So those are the gifts of what we get to do every day as we serve people in the community through all the work that Habitat does.
I wonder, so I'm going to look at my stats. You guys have built more than 1,000 homes since 1985
Right,
and more than 7,000 annual volunteer hours.
right.
That's a lot of homes, a lot of volunteers, but you can't help everybody,
Right.
right? There's still such a great need in Metro Nashville and
Right.
all over Tennessee for housing. So how do you pick where you're building homes? How do you pick who gets to live in those homes? What does that process look like?
Well, first is as far as where is land affordable, and where is it zoned where it can allow for a smaller home, because we don't build 2,400 square foot houses or 4,800 square foot houses. We build usually about 1,200 square foot house, very well built, Energy Star, energy efficient. We've been recognized by the EPA 17 years in a row for Habitat homes. We build them so tightly, and they're well built with dimensional shingle roofs, which are 30-year shingle roofs. Everything that we do as far as quality, but the size has to be smaller. So first is we have to find areas where it's more affordable, and so the second then would be, as we do the selection process, I'm a recovering banker, as I said. So we have to do the same selection process, looking at your income debt ratio, your credit score, your job stability. We have to do all that because we don't want to put a family in a home that doesn't stay in a home. We do mortgages, 30-year mortgages at 0% interest. So what we do is raise money to pay for the house, and we become the bank. And then they have to pay us off over 30 years. Well, it's a 0% mortgage. That house payment is only about $1,100 to $1,200 a month. Versus if it were 7% interest rate today, it would be well over $2,000, be closer to $2,500 a month. So it makes it affordable, but it also makes them put skin in the game. And ultimately, what we always say to them is, you coming in today are part of one of the 1,000 homeowners have been here, and you're paying it forward because the money every month when you make a payment, that payment is going to help the next person get a home as well, have an opportunity. But they have to go through not only showing that they have stability and job, income, credit. It doesn't happen a lot of the time. First time they have to reapply multiple times. And then they have to make the commitment to coming out and being volunteering for 100 hours on each individual for either here at the Restore or at the build site. So you have to volunteer 100 hours while you have a job. And secondarily, you have to do 100 hours of classroom work. We put you through homeowner classes, budget coaching. We have bankers and financial CPAs who come work with our families on a one-on-one basis. They go through the FDIC financial freedom training. We have them go through training of what does it mean to change out the washer in your sink. It's because you can't afford to pay a plumber. How can you change out the air filter? Do these things and do it yourself. And make sure you stay affordable. What does it mean to be part of an HOA? We train them all that thing. So somebody has, even if it's 100% financing, they've got skin in the game already because they've got 100 hours of classroom work, 100 hours on the build site or here in the Restore volunteering. So our success rate's over 97% of people staying in their home. And we're very proud of that because we don't want to just get you in the home and then we'll find out if you make it or not. We want to invest so much into you that you are prepared, and then you can be a success because that's the only way you build equity over time and your children experience the stability of having a home long term.
Danny, one of the things that Carly and I do coming from the logistics business is look at bottlenecks and look at choke points. And so when I hear over the last 40 years, you all have built over 1,000 homes, the math in my head says, okay, that's about 25 homes per year, about 2 homes per month, if you were to just average it out across all 12 months. And I wonder if there's a bottleneck, is it that there's not enough land? If you said, Spencer, if I had more affordable land, that 2 per month could be 4 per month or 10 per month or whatever the number, or is it the amount of individuals that qualify? Is it the cost and the capital that you all have to invest? Like, where's the bottleneck if you got charged to say, make it 4 rather than 2 per month?
Well, part of it is, one is there are about 1,000 habitats across the country, in every community. And Nashville's in the top 10 as far as number of new homes built every year because we build around 30 to 32 a year. Here's the challenge. One is finding land.
Okay.
Finding land is so difficult in Nashville that's affordable because I'm competing against people coming from all over the world who want to be in Nashville and want to be building in Nashville. One. Number 2 is I started with Habitat in 2010. Our all-in cost for a house, all in land development, and the house cost, with our volunteer work was about $110,000 per house. Today, that house cost is about $290,000.
Wow.
It's almost tripled in the 15 years I've been at Habitat. That's because obviously land has gone up so much. Land development with stormwater and all the requirements is much higher. After coming out of COVID, the direct cost of the housing materials is up so much higher. So it is just much more difficult. So what used to be, we have to raise $4 million to build 30 homes. Now we're going to raise almost $8.5 million, more than double. So it's become where I'm really proud to say, okay, we've been steady, and it looks like, well, you're not really growing, Danny. Well, no, we've had to grow how much we've had to get contributed income and earned income by having restores and opening new restores to be able to just still build 30 a year, because again, the values are up so much. But the good news is, you say, well, 30 or 32 years is not making a dent. I tell you, that's not true, because we are in an area of North Nashville right now where we're finishing up. We do our own developments. We buy the big tracts of land, and we'll do the land development ourselves. We put the roads in, the infrastructure, everything in. We have a development that's going to have 214 houses, and it's being finished up this year.
Really?
We just finished up a development at 58 homes. You go to another neighborhood, right down the road is another one that has 113 homes. So you go through whole neighborhoods, you say, look at this. This was just, and then we have some townhomes right across the street. They have 26 homes. So all in that area, if you just drive around and you don't even know that they're Habitat homes, they're just really nicely built homes, smaller homes, and well-kept neighborhoods. We work with the HOAs to make sure they're maintained, things like that. So we're really proud of seeing the impact, because not only are the neighborhoods you drive through and say, well, that feels good because all these people own homes, it's less likely to ever be gentrified because there's such a volume of them. So it can't just be a single tear down. The other is, when we do the homeowner training, our homeowners get to know each other during that process. So when you move in, you already know some of your neighbors. So you start building community already. We have some unique situations where I love to tell this story where in one of our neighborhoods, there was a woman from Iraq, had been here for about 15 years, was a single mom and had a child. Her next door neighbor was an African-American mom with a single mom. Now, what are the chances an Iraqi woman and an African-American woman become best friends? But through the classrooms, they started becoming great friends, and they end up living next door to each other, and they babysat for each other. And that's the miracle of saying that's what community can happen. When you break down the walls of what perception might be, and they just get to know each other, there's an Iraqi woman and an African-American woman, best friends. And I just love those kind of stories.
Makes me think, too, how powerful to have 100 families that are learning that level of financial literacy. And that can't help but trickle down to the kids, right? Like,
absolutely.
they have to know when you're volunteering 100 hours, when their mom and dad are taking classes, that trickles down. And then you get in the school systems and you have all these families worth of kids in this local community that have that level of understanding. I feel like that has generational impact.
It does.
Right here in Middle Tennessee, that you're planting financial literacy, not just for these families now, but for the kids that come up behind it.
We have so many of our homeowners that say to us before they move in, even if I had not been able to purchase a home, if I just gotten this educational part and learned the budget part, which I never understood fully, and I see it now, where I'm so focused not on, when I get my paycheck, of just spending or catching up, but trying to always focus on having money the last day of the month, and almost using the envelope effect and having money and teaching my children that. And all of a sudden I have savings, I have reserves, and they just say how valuable that meant it was for them to have that. So you're right, the financial literacy, it starts to change, and understanding the compounding of time, value, money, that says, hey, if you move in this house today, it may not have a lot more value in 3 to 4 years, but you know what? If you can stay in that home over 10 and 15 years, the value does come, and you start building equity, which is, we also work with the Nashville School of Law, and our homeowners get to have wills prepared for free through the Nashville School of Law. So it's generational that says, hey, the equity you build in your house over time will be passed on to your children. So it is something that changes that cycle of poverty that says now all of a sudden we're starting to build equity over time, and it really does pass it on to the next generation.
Danny, as CEO, you end up making, on average, 3 or 4 decisions a year that really matter, right? Like an effective CEO, you make decisions on a daily or weekly basis, but in terms of like impacting the trajectory, it's 3 or 4, and that's why you're in the role. So when you think back over the last handful of years, or even over the last 15 years, what are some of the decisions that you've made that you feel like really altered the trajectory for Habitat for Humanity? Is there something that comes to mind for you?
There's one that comes to mind right off the bat. When we entered into COVID, everybody had choices. Every organization had a choice. And some chose to kind of shut down, and some chose to ignore. And because we have such a diverse group of people that work with us and that support us, we said, you know what? We're not going to pick. We're going to do both. made the commitment to say we're going to continue working. We felt like we were an essential business to its home building, offering the stores. But we also respected both sides. So we said we're going to continue building, but you know what? Instead of having 25 people on the build site today, we're going to have 12, and you're going to be 10 feet apart. And we used to always have here's some old gloves, here's your hard hat that was used 30 times, here's some safety glasses. We made decisions that every day you come out, you're going to get a brand new hard hat, a brand new pair of gloves, brand new things, because we want it to be clean. We want you to be, we want you to be separated. So we continued doing what we did, but we respected the fact that there were people that had real concerns over the COVID. So we did not choose, but we said our choice was to say we're going to respect all, but we're going to continue on what we do. I've seen so many nonprofits who chose one path or the other, and I think have regretted that they really made a really hard decision one way or the other. And I think by trying to listen to both sides, again, that's that bringing people together, that it was the right decision. It almost propelled us to do more because they saw us actively, and we had several who said, we're not going to bring any volunteers out. We're not comfortable now. We said, that's fine. Come back next year. We had several who said, we want to come out. Well, we'll be there to take care of that, but you're going to have to do it this way. We're going to be a little bit less separated. Instead of we've had 8 people in a room painting a room, you get 2 people in the room painting. So they're separated and things like that. You're going to be masked, things like that. So I think that was a really important decision that our leadership made and really propelled us to do, again, showed an example of how you can still honor both sides and respect the dignity of both opinions and still accomplish what you wanted to. And I think we didn't lose either side. To say both of them felt like we listened to their concerns and we tried to meet both. So that was really important for us to do that.
Stewardship is also something that nonprofits are always measured on and looked probably closer than any other business. And Habitat for Humanity is at 88 cents on the dollar for money given,
Right.
converted into the mission. So can you talk a little bit about that and the stewardship, that mindset, and just the structure of Habitat for Humanity in general, just how all that plays together to be able to hit that 88 cent threshold, which is a hard threshold to get to?
Well, I never saw myself being in the nonprofit world. So when I got into the opportunity to work for Habitat, coming out of banking, there's that talk about margin and mission. And you have to have the mission mindset to want to serve your fellow man, take care of people, do the work of your ministry. But the other part is you've got to have the margin, no mission. So we really came in to say we want to be good stewards. We want to bring expertise. We want to bring some financial expertise. We have some other areas in whether it's in education, construction, which made us more the efficiencies and things like that. We want to be as good. And I say this, I was a president of a bank for 15 years. The team I have at Habitat, my leadership team today is the strongest team I've ever worked with. I'd love to joke to say I've got a Vanderbilt graduate, I got a Harvard MBA, Lipscomb graduate. It just goes on down the list. I'm an Alabama graduate. I'm like the lowest man on the totem pole as far as intelligence, but we have a great team. It's an amazing team of people who made the decision to say, my goal is, I want to be paid for what I do, but also my bonus is going to be in seeing lives change. They're just some special people that made that choice to say, it's not going to be in stock options. It's not going to be an ownership of the business. It's not going to be those kind of things, annual bonuses. My bonus will be when I get to stand there at a home dedication and I see the homeowner crying and saying, I am so thankful for this opportunity. And you're a part of that.
If Restore is one of the top retailers in the country, there's Habitat everywhere.
Sure.
Everywhere you move, you could find a Restore.
Yes.
There's Habitat. What makes Tennessee, particularly this greater Nashville area that you steward, so special? What is unique about this Habitat outfit that maybe other places don't have?
Well, one thing I would say is, we've had a lot of people move to Tennessee from all over the country. And most people tell me that they'll say, Danny, you need to be aware Nashville's unique. We're a very philanthropic town. Mm-hmm. We have a town that goes back to whether it was the Frists and the Ingrams and the Turners and all the people that have, that became large company holders. They were very involved in the nonprofit community, and they really part of their profits and part of their strategy was to support nonprofits. We have over 800 nonprofits in Middle Tennessee. We're one of the most philanthropic areas in the country, and so we're very blessed by that. We don't ever take that for granted. So people tend to, and companies that come to Nashville are very kind of quickly taught that if you're going to be part of this community and part of the chamber and all that, part of your goal is that you need to support local area nonprofits. So again, we are very fortunate to be in a community where major companies, major churches, major everything step forward and want to help and be part of things like Habitat for Humanity. The other thing I would say is that we're real big team building. We try to be a value proposition for them as well. We understand because some of our team came from the business community. We understand that for them not just to write a check, that they get to participate. So you get to write. It's not just writing a check saying, "Well, you did something good." If you support us, that means guess what? You're going to come out on a Saturday or Sunday, get to know the homeowner personally. You have this phenomenal team building exercise. We have multiple people there with construction staff and some supervisors on site that are volunteers but have been around forever. They will help you have a great day to learn to use tools and skills that you've never had and to get to know who the homeowner is. And it's a great experience. So we hear more and more people who, when they say, I want to contribute, but I don't want to just write a check. I really want to participate. And Habitat offers that. And I think that makes us very unique as well as something that says we're very hands-on. All the volunteers we have every year, they get to really experience what their money goes toward.
Danny, Habitat for Humanity is traditionally known for homes, but I've heard that you all are branching out into a new space, doing a little bit of ballpark action. So why don't you tell me about what you all are doing in North Nashville?
Well, we've been in North Nashville since 2000, or in the 2000s, and we started to build relationships in the community. And one of the things that we saw was a big part of that community was the Parkwood ball fields, which are these, it's historic, privately owned by the community. African-American ball fields have been around since 1966. If you talk to people, how many people have played there? Mookie Betts played there. Golden Tate played there.
Wow.
All these professional athletes played at Parkwood ball fields, but it had been run down so badly. So Habitat, working with their board, said, we want to do something special here and make a difference. So we started about 3 years ago working and were able to raise $2.5 million, have put artificial turf, brand new dugouts, new fencing, new concrete sidewalks, everything there. We just had kind of a media event last week. We were able to raise money through working with Major League Baseball, the Nashville Sounds, the Morgan Wallen Foundation, Spear Foundation, multiple supporters who came together to help do this. Habitat took no money for doing it, but we wanted to do something for that community. We'd been part of it. We had built in that surrounding area well over 300 homes. So we knew a lot of our families would enjoy it. But it's just such a wonderful thing that we can partner and be viewed as saying we want to do not only build homes, but we also understand that there's more than just homes in the community. It is about having access to ball fields. We're also worked with Metro Parks and Recreation, where there's going to be putting a 59-acre park right beside the ball field. So we have some capacity through our supporters and our brand to bring people together, do something extraordinary. We made that challenge 3 or 4 years ago. It was responded, and it's just an extraordinary thing that's happened there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Danny, you've had hundreds of thousands of volunteers that have put their sweat equity into helping over the years, and unknown number of thumbs that have been smashed by hammers and all kinds of things that come along with it.
Right.
But are there any particular stories that stand out to you amongst the volunteers or the stories over the years that just stick out to you?
Well, one of the great ones was in 2019, we were fortunate to host the Jimmy and Rosalind Carter Work Project, where they have gone all over the world every year while they were alive, and they would build homes. Well, they chose Nashville in 2019. They came here for a week and spent time with us. They went to, we had a night at the Ryman, a night at the Bluebird, a night at the Opry House, but we also had them on the build site for 5 straight days with 500 volunteers from around the country and really around the world who came in to build 21 homes. Garth and Tricia were part of that. It was an amazing event. So the great story for President Carter, he is serious about building. He was 95 years old. He showed up every morning at 7 o'clock and would work past lunch every day and then go out at night with us. But my greatest story was one of my friends and best volunteers had a chance to go over and talk to President Carter while he was doing a little bit of work. And President Carter was cordial, and he finally looked up to him and said, if we continue talking, neither one of us are going to get anything done. And my friend said, yes, sir, I get it. And he went back to work. And it was just like President Carter was very serious about trying to, be a leader and helping neighbors and helping the families. They one of the great parts, they had these corbels and on every one of these 21 homes. Every one of them were put together by President Carter and painted by Miss Carter. Is that not great. And they're, these 1,200 square foot homes in North Nashville, and they have the work of the President, Miss Carter, on every one of those. So they were a great experience to have them here. They were wonderful to see out there. Just such an example at 95 and 92, still out there working every day.
Danny, you're working 95-year-old men 5 straight days.
Oh, he was outworking me. He was pushing me. So it was really great to have that.
Danny, one way that we like to finish every podcast is I have 3 short fill-in-the-blank sentences with a blank at the end that you can either fill with a word or a short phrase.
Sure.
Okay? All right. Here's number 1.
All right.
A common misconception about Habitat for Humanity is blank.
Very easy. A common misperception about Habitat for Humanity is that we give houses away for free. Our homeowners purchase the homes, pay the full value of the house at 0% mortgage, which is what makes it affordable, but they purchase their own homes.
I had that misconception. I really had no understanding of the significant mortgage, hence banking and your background. Like, I see the Lord's hand at work there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Number 2, Nashville needs Habitat for Humanity because blank.
Nashville needs Habitat for Humanity because we bring people together. We are in a blue city and a red state, and Habitat's a place where those two people can coexist and do it with fun and enjoy it. You get to know each other, break down the barriers, and I again learn to realize that we have so much more in common than we ever thought we had.
I really like your spirit, Danny, of how you confront the differences rather than kind of keeping it under the rug. I mean, you really confront and bring up the elephant in the room, and it kind of takes the charge out of it.
It does.
And I love your leadership about that.
Well, thank you.
Okay, number 3, if I could wave a magic wand as Habitat's CEO, I would do blank.
If I could wave a wand as Habitat CEO, I would want everyone to experience the unity that's felt on a build site or in a restore, where people are coming together and building community and seeing again the commonalities we have. So I just and the ability to share in, and I believe that's putting God's love into action by doing that. And we build hope for people that don't have much hope today. And when you see whether you're a homeowner recipient or someone helping that person, it gives you hope to say there are good things still going on in this world.
Danny, it's been a real treat to be able to have you on here today. We've covered a lot of ground from a hobby horse to getting to this moment here. And I can really see, sometimes it's easier to see the Lord's hand when you look in the rearview mirror. And it's really clear in your life from my perspective, and that the skills that you developed, starting off as a nuclear engineer and the work there to journey all the way through construction and banking and all of those pieces, it's come together in a really special way. And how much you impact Nashville's community, but doing it unapologetically with a faith-minded mission is also something that could have very easily been compromised along the way. Right? The spirit of unity to say, well, we all want to be here and we don't want to be offensive. And so we're just going to let that part go and let our heart speak. But instead, the mission has really seen incredible blessing. So it's a real privilege to get to give you a little bit of an extra megaphone here to talk about what you do, to educate. It's clear that this ministry is alive and well. So congratulations and good stewardship, Danny.
Thank y'all very much. I really enjoyed the time.
Danny Herron, CEO of Habitat for Humanity for Greater Nashville, seated here in Restore out in Wilson County. And I learned so much about Habitat that I just had no understanding of prior. Like, I thought Habitat for Humanity built homes for free and just gave them away. I had no idea that they're like a top 10 retailer in the United States with stores like what we're sitting in here. The mission and the faith-driven component of Habitat, I didn't understand how clear that was as part of their mission statement. It was a really insightful time, and Danny's been a great leader here for 15 years.
Really, there was a couple of things that really stuck out to me. One, was talking about kids and how often they get displaced and they don't end the school year in the school that they started in that school year. And it was kind of a duh moment. I was sitting here and you don't always think about housing and education and the link between the two. But as we just got done with our literacy month, and when we talk about wanting to change Nashville for the better for our kids and for their education, housing is a great place to start. And so I really enjoyed the conversation around that.
Something I always look for in nonprofit ministries is, are they self-sustaining? So many nonprofits are hand to mouth. Like if they have a bad week, certainly a bad month, like it's all over. And their ministry is built upon sustaining financial principles that I think are a big reason why they've been able to grow through really challenging conditions over decades and decades and decades, and they're here and as strong as ever. It's great to see Habitat set a standard for other nonprofits that want to emulate some of the best practices that they show here, because they do it right, they do it with stewardship, they do it professionally. You would sit here in this Restore location and this feels identical to a fully for-profit retail
Yeah, you're
location.
right.
If you didn't know the sign on the outside, this could totally be a place that was strictly for-profit.
Well, and if you look at the research we did at the Patton Foundation, we saw how much people care about financial literacy, how much they wish our students were learning financial literacy. And I was just so excited when he talked about taking his families that are getting homes from Habitat through 100 hours of home care and financial literacy classes. I kind of was like, why are we not offering these in every school across the state? I mean, I can't remember if it was above 90% was the number of success rate that they have in families getting into a home, being able to keep their home and not getting into trouble. The model is built. They're doing an incredible job.
97%
It was
success rate.
97. Thank you.